Ryan, I'm giving you the floor today. What's going on, buddy?
Oh
How
man,
are you doing?
I'm here solo. Wow, look at this. This is how it should be every day, but whatever.
You were giving me shit before the show that you wanted to be in the driver's seat, so I'm letting you be. How does it feel to be back in the captain's chair?
Well, if you gave me the true driver's seat, I would be running the ones and twos over here. I'm only running the twos, so with the music, I want the ones as well. I'm coming for it all, champ. Coming for it all. Mornings off the rails with your boy Ryan Ray. Here we are. Where are we at today, Ben? Are we all over all the interwebs or just on YouTube? I don't know what you decided because you are actually in charge of this operation.
No, we're on them all. We had talked about moving over to YouTube. I think we're going to be doing that starting on Labor Day. So we've got about another month where we're going to be on some of these other socials. But I know you're feeling a little jealous still of that LinkedIn Live situation. So we need to get off LinkedIn Live so you can feel better about yourself. I get it. It's okay.
Oh man. You know, it's oh, there you are. You're back. Look like that. Unfortunately, I thought you were gone. What happened to that? What happened? I was excited.
The people need to see both of us. I don't know what to tell you.
Oh gracious, they don't need to see anything, but whatever. People see what we tell them to see. How about that? Catch me outside. Speaking of Catch Me Outside, is that girl still is she still a thing?
I feel confident in telling you that woman or that girl or that person or whatever you want to call her, her net worth is probably substantively more than both of us combined. And so let's not talk about it. How about that? Let's just not talk about it.
Catch Me Outside. How about that? Turns into a song with auto-tune that's really catchy. I mean, I'll be honest with you, it's really catchy. And $1 million parlay for someone who threatened to beat up an audience member at Dr. Phil's show. This isn't Maury Povich. This isn't Jerry Springer. She threatened to beat up the audience members at Dr. Phil's show. That's like the 52-year-old mom in suburbia who's coming and thinks Dr. Phil hung the moon, who probably cries when she breaks a nail. That's who she's threatening, and it's $1 million parlay.
My only takeaway from this is that, I guess the youth movement of getting to your point, I think they're throwbacks. I think the Jerry Springer and Maury Povich references are very apt here, Ryan. Maybe we missed our calling. Maybe we should have been a little bit more rowdy as children and made it on that show. We might have an easier life. Things could have been so different.
They could have been. They're not, and here we are. Each other. How did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, the series of mistakes that you and I have made in our lives to land us to this point where we're doing this show together is a story that I don't even think a 30 for 30 can tell it. You have said before that your life is going to turn into a 30 for 30. I think it's going to be more Dateline-esque. That's neither here nor there. But this is quickly getting out of hand. Yeah, I don't know.
What I'm hoping for. You've made it when you have multiple documentaries like examining your overall arc and failure, like the crash and the burn. Like they focus in on windows and characters and friends in your story, and then you've really made it when someone does the alternative history of your life, like the Quentin Tarantino version of your life. How it could have. He does that, or Scorsese, whoever does those movies, the alternate version of reality for you. Like that's when you've made it.
So what you're saying is that the documentary, The Media King, isn't good enough. You also need the full length feature film being played by. Okay, so actually, let's play that game, Ryan. Feature film gets made of the Ryan Ray story. Current actors that are out there right now. Who is playing Ryan?
I have no idea. No one. I'm not good looking enough to have anyone that some third-rate extra I can't identify would be who looks like me. So I don't know. That's a good question. I have to think about it. It's not like I've got stunning good looks that I could be like, well, obviously it's The Rock. I mean, me and The Rock have basically the same physique, but he's just a little better looking than me.
there are times in my life, Ryan. There are times where you say things that are just like you just lay them up. They're just like t-balls, just like the ball's just like right here, like right here. And that was one of those times. And you know what? We're only like 4 minutes into the show. I'm not going to take a swing at that one. Let me come back to that one later. But let's just move on for your sake. Let's just go ahead and move on.
Yeah, and after we had a conversation on the show a week or two ago, and after we got offline, I was like, "Hey, what is it that you were going to say that you didn't say on the show?" And you told me. Based upon that, I will not press you ever again when you say you're going to drop something. I will let you drop it. I will move on. And Jonah, Keith, why you gotta be like that, man?
So
you gotta be like Jonah Hill. Come on,
Keith. I appreciate you. That was unscripted. I appreciate you. That's part of that was one of the considerations. I wasn't going to go that route though because that's a little aggressive. Notice I didn't say wrong. I just said aggressive. You have to qualify it. It's like super bad era Jonah Hill, but
I mean, that's what I was thinking, but still, it's like Zach Galifianakis or whatever that guy's name is.
Actually, you know what? I hadn't thought about it, but you sort of are the Jonah Hill character from Wolf of Wall Street. You sort of are. Maybe Jonah Hill in the first hour. You're Jonah Hill in the first hour of Wolf of Wall Street.
Minus the drug habit and being married to my cousin. Okay.
No. Just the guy peddling penny sheets who can't figure it out. You're the first iteration.
Wow. That's what you talk about. Oh, God. What a shot! Unbelievable. This is your fault, Keith. This is your fault. You brought this on me.
For anybody listening, I'd also like to point out that he has yet to refute that comparison. But
it hurts because it's true. So leave me alone, okay?
And for whatever it's worth, what I was going to say is much more aggressive than that. And so we're just gonna can we move on? Are we ready to move on yet?
The show's already off the rails. 7 minutes in. That's about normal.
So, Ryan, the consumer confidence index is at an I shouldn't say an all-time high, but is at a 17-month high. I know that the Trumpers out there have been railing against Biden and the Biden administration, but it seems like they're, if you use the same metrics that Trump used to promote on Twitter on a daily basis, that Biden should be, able to do the same thing or should be able to claim that the economy is fantastic and all these things. Yes, you and I talked yesterday about how there is some false bravado there, that the Fed needs to raise rates. We had a guest come in and mention that money is not real, and we wanted to park that conversation until today. So let's start there.
I thought we were doing that on Don't Let the Facts on Thursday, we said.
So if you don't want to talk about that, let's talk specifically about the consumer. We can talk about the consumer confidence index because that's where I think that's important. I think that certainly is a metric that there seems that the market and traders and the financial markets seem to gravitate towards and really use as a bellwether these days. When you think about, so for those listening, I mean, consumer confidence index, it's relatively straightforward in terms of it means exactly what it sounds like. It is the index that is tracking the confidence in the market, in the domestic U.S. market, financial markets for consumers. And so that means that's not, the guy at the trading desk. That's not the guy at Barclays. That theoretically is the consumer of the good, meaning like you or I. Yeah. And it's at a 17-month high. And so to put that in perspective, 17 months ago is February of 2020. And so this is right on the cusp of COVID. So we're saying that we're back to a place where people are as confident in the market as they were prior to COVID. Let me just ask you on point blank, do you buy that?
No, not at all.
I don't either. So is this just the consumers are getting sold a bill of bad goods and we have been sort of talked into that the engine is back running and we've sort of ignored that the other foot is going to drop? Or is there something else here? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think when any of these government studies are done, you always have to be a little bit concerned. It says, and so here's a quote from Reuters: U.S. consumer confidence inched up to a 17-month high in July, with household spending plans rising even as concerns about inflation lingered, suggesting the economy maintained its strong growth clip earlier in the third quarter. Well, a couple things here. One, you have vacation time, right? So we're in the summertime, so people are going on vacation. They've been pent up for 17 months. And so this is the chance to allow people to get out, to go, to do stuff. So that's one thing. Second thing is you have back to school coming up, right? So people get ready to go to school, they're going to buy supplies. There are things that just bring forth optimism regardless of what's going on in the economy. So vacation time, holiday time, now you can measure that year over year to see how it works out, but there are things that will just naturally make people, think about talking about if you measured college students, happiness. Well, like the week before spring break is probably when it's at an all time high, regardless of what's going on in their world. Is just more likely to do that, to be at that time of year than it is, the first week of school or second week of school. So I think that's part of what's going on here. The other thing is when you look at the news, we're talking about going back to mask potentially. I know the White House rolled the mask policy back out at the White House today. The CDC is pushing for guidelines. So even if this is true, that this is how America feels, I don't know if that's going to be the case in 3 to 4 weeks if we roll out the mask across the U.S. again.
All right. Over under is 38%. In the next 45 days, is the federal government going to roll out another mask mandate?
On any level, or like try to put it nationwide?
No, nationwide, because it's already sorted out still on some level, but no, like a nationwide. Are they gonna rein back in the are they gonna restart this whole process?
God. I got 2 months. You say 30 or 45 days?
45 days, yes, sir.
Yeesh. I'm gonna say no. I think what's going to happen is they're going to try to get the states to do it and the big cities, and so I think that's where the pressure will come from. And then they'll leverage that with look at what California's doing versus what Texas is doing. New York's doing this versus what Florida's doing or whatever. That's I think the play there, but I could be wrong. And so I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't think local counties would really respect a national mask mandate or anything like that at this point. Like where I live at, I don't think they don't carry a lot of weight. Whereas I think maybe a Texas mandate would be a little different.
Which state was I'm trying to find? There was a state up in the Northeast that came out yesterday and enacted a law, or at least proposed a law that would make it illegal for the federal government to implement a mask mandate. I want to say this New Hampshire. Do you hear this?
The Libertarian Free State?
Something like that. Did you? I'm Googling. Did you have air quotes?
Libertarian Free State of New Hampshire? Go ahead. My boy's up in New Hampshire. The Libertarian Free State of New Hampshire. Okay. Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me. Bunch of gangsters up there like that.
I can't find it. I was reading an article yesterday. Maybe it was just they were talking about it. I thought that they had enacted it.
What's your guess? You going yes or no? 45 days national mask mandate from the feds?
No. I think they have bigger fights. I think that it's something that they'd want to do, but I think that at the end of the day, they will realize that I won't say it will be a fruitless exercise, because obviously when the federal government says something, there will be a litany of people that will listen to it. But I think that from I hesitate to say PR, quote unquote, but I think from the PR perspective, they understand that would just blow up in their face. And maybe I'm giving them way too much credit in that realm, but I do think that they realize that they have, if they want to go that route, they have to do it a different way, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, let's talk stocks here, Ben. Cathie Wood, first off, before we get into what she did yesterday, I think it was. Are you a Cathie Wood fan, detractor? She's kind of controversial. What's your read on Cathie Wood and ARK?
That's a good question. I mean, I think we've talked about it before, and I think that she is super sharp. I think that ARK is. So how big is? Let me ask you first. I'm not exactly sure. How big is ARK right now? How big are they these days? Do you know? I know they have a number of different funds.
52.85 billion AUM.
Okay, I thought it was closer to 120. Interesting. So I don't know. I really don't have any strong feelings. I mean, on the list of leaders in that space, is she one of the ones that I have at like the top of the list on either on the good or bad? Not necessarily. I think that they got caught up in last year. They got caught up in that the Bill Huang situation. I forget what was it? Archaeos, whatever. And so, I don't know. I don't really have any strong feelings, really. I mean,
it seems to me that she works well for the kind of the Tesla crowd. She's really bullish on Tesla, like extremely bullish on Tesla stock long term. She obviously had a great year last year, but I don't know. I think I'm not maybe as sold on her as some are, but time will tell.
That's actually, I think that's the second time you asked me that question. That's the second time that I sort of punted on this show because I don't think of her as a divisive character, and in the talking heads of the the private equity or the ETF space, she's not even really one that I consider on the list. I don't know. I don't.
You're a Jamie Dimon kind of guy. I get it. Anyways, so what happened? What happened, if you missed it, was Cathie Wood clears nearly all Chinese tech stocks from their ARK portfolios. Now, this is okay. So obviously, what you said was 53 billion. They have AUM. So they've got a little room to grow, to put it like that. But to hear this type of announcement after what you've been seeing for the Chinese stocks, I think this is something that's going to happen more often. It has to happen if you have a fiduciary responsibility to your client. Having Chinese tech stocks in your portfolio is Ben's gone, is a risk that you cannot mitigate. Is something that you cannot protect your clients from. And if this is an entertainment show, if you didn't notice, but if your stock guy or gal is pumping Chinese stocks to you right now, I think you had to fire them today. Now, if you want to invest in them in your Robinhood account, you want to take the risk, then go do your research. But if your person who has a fiduciary responsibility is pumping these kind of Chinese stocks to you, and I'm not anti-China, I don't hate China. I'm just saying, if you look at what's going on, there's no reason that you can. I think if you have a fiduciary responsibility, being in advising people to invest in these stocks, too strong. What do you think?
No, not at all. I mean, so look, if we're taking Cathie Wood to the woodshed because of her Tesla claim, we got to do that to a lot of other people too. She happens to be at a seat where people listen to her, what she says more fervently. But I mean, So what was it? The day before the Tesla call, she came out and kind of give her own call on Tesla, and I think she had a price point of 3,000.
Yeah, it's really high, right?
And now it's trading at 700 after a 4-to-1 stock split, and so you're talking about 4.5x growth on what, right? I mean, on you and I have talked about on what. So I read, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I read the Tesla had one of their best quarters, if not their best quarter in quite some time. This last quarter, again, on what? I mean, how many cars that they actually deliver? Is the product getting actually any better, or is this just Elon is on the ESG train, and for some reason everybody loves Elon Musk? Again, based on what? I mean, he has a company that owns some stuff underground that they have thought about building tunnels in. He owns a phenomenal equity stake in a company that is talked about building the future car.
The space truck right now is not coming out this year either.
Well, hold on. So I mean, thank you, federal government, for giving him the money to do that. Appreciate that. All this, the space stuff is and space tourism is great. But again, thank you, federal government, for subsidizing that. I mean, so like I'm struggling with what the bull case on Tesla is, other than we love the federal government. And so if Kathy can't see through the weeds there, and she is, so maybe the parallel here is maybe Kathy Wood is sort of the Tesla version of Bill Ackman and Herbalife. Maybe she's just an evangelist because she's an evangelist. But so parking that, on the China side, we didn't talk about it yesterday because I was actually going to wait for Don't Let the Facts. But on that side, we saw this week, and I want to hear. I was listening to your show yesterday with Mark. I think it was yesterday with Mark Rosano, and you guys talked about this a little bit. But the Chinese government in the last week or two has made some substantive moves on clamping down on the major tech companies. Obviously, there was that major tiff with Jack Ma last year, and also they've started to really come after the private education sector. There was a litany of those U.S.-based stock prices for companies in China that just got obliterated in the education space, and so. Yeah, if you find someone like a Kathy Wood, I mean, if you're a Bitcoin evangelist, a Tesla fanatic, and you're also, removing yourself from the China market, you kind of paint yourself in a corner, right?
But you have to remove yourself from the China corner right now, right?
Yeah, I mean, and I would defer to you to give us some more context there, and if you have anything to add, I certainly would. But I mean, yeah, it seems untenable to have your money out there for those ventures when the Chinese government is pulling the levers that they are.
Yeah, and I think maybe I sold it. I had some Sinopec stocks that I own, not a lot, it's a small position. I think I sold it, anyways. But I bought that myself, knowing the risk that the Chinese government could come in and wreck that company at any time. And so I think that's one thing. The second thing I'd say is that we should change the laws and allow it to be where companies list in their native country, by and large, but it's easier for Americans to invest in those exchanges. So we should be investing in the Shanghai Exchange or the Hong Kong Exchange or whatever. Then you understand more, oh, this company is a Chinese company. Again, I am for investing in foreign companies. I talk about this over and over again, so I'm not going to get into that today. But as it sits, the Dr. Evil Cat, as it sits right now, if you have a fiduciary responsibility to your client, I don't know how you can advise them to be buying these stocks with what the Chinese government's been doing. And that's the thing. So Kathy Wood clearing it out makes sense. I think it's the right move. And my point, just in general, call your stock guy or gal up right now and say, hey, do you have me in any Chinese tech stocks or stocks in general? If so, why? And if they don't have a good thesis on that, you need to fire them, because it is a risky venture. But the final thing I'll say it again, and I believe we should invest cross-border. It's just right now with what's going on in China, it's too risky.
We got a fan coming in from Ghana. Let me put the cat
in
one arm, and we put this up here. Hey, how we doing? Appreciate you joining in. Hopefully you're enjoying Ryan the Talking Head, and maybe are you making a trip down that way sometime soon if they let you?
Western Africa. Hey, listen. Oh, maybe.
There it is.
No, maybe so. On behalf of Ray Global Advisors, I've been say no comment at this time.
Well, that doesn't surprise me, although that's unfortunate. Maybe you should have tried to make a pro Biden one. I think they would have probably loved that. You know what? If you want to take some unsolicited advice, redo this app idea, and in the logo, just have the word Tesla in it somewhere, and they'll probably let it go. They'll probably get it through the censor. I don't know. Ryan, why don't you answer this one? That seems like a Ryan question.
Okay. We've got like 5 minutes left in the show, and you just baller comes in with the overhand left just out of nowhere. Switch to south.
I'd like to looking. Before you even answer the question, by the way, I'd like to point out that neither one of us punted the question because we didn't want to answer it because it's not accurate. So why don't you try in the next 2 minutes, and if you actually start to say some really smart stuff, I may just cut the feed just in the middle of the answer. But why don't you try the next 2 minutes to answer that question?
Okay. So there's two things here. There's democracy, which really means nothing. Let's talk about that. And then there's freedom and liberty. So democracy at its core only means that the majority votes, or the majority rules, which is not exactly how America was set up and should not be ran. So there's that. So theoretically, Ben, see if you agree with this, in a democratic society, you could have people vote to become socialists, right? Which means this that the government runs the means of production. Okay.
Yes.
So and they could vote it for it to stop.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So I think this is the problem where we're at in America is we not picking on the commenter here. I'm just saying that we say, well, I'm pro democracy. Well, that just means majority rules. So that doesn't really have any depth behind it. So I'm pro liberty. I'm pro freedom. I'm pro First Amendment. Pro second thing. Whoa! You disagree with me? Do you think I am?
I'm listening. I'm cultivating a response.
Yeah. So the question then is how do you protect your liberties? And so what we've determined, or we believe determined, is that a kind of democracy-style setup is the best way to do that so far. However, we're seeing now that really at the core doesn't have much meaning. The other thing I say is that people like to be given stuff. And so the more stuff you give them, the more stuff they want. And so in the U.S., we've given people a lot of stuff. Whether you agree with those things or not, that's what we've done. And now we're at the point to pull it away, much like the Fed raising the rates causes pain, and people don't like going through pain. So I'll stop there, Mr. Samuels.
So, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I think it's an interesting topic or, conversation to be had around. So, if there is a fervent move across a majority of the country in a democracy to implement, let's go further than socialism. So, I mean, to implement fascism, is that actually is it still a democratic process? Are you still in a democracy if the rule of law being implemented is not indicative of democracy? Because you're right, democracy means majority rule, but it doesn't really. I mean, so democracy, I think democracy has an element of personal culpability and personal involvement in the construct, and is not just simply choosing a way to govern. Or is it just that simple? Is democracy just that? How are we going to structure this thing? And if a top down you choose, in my example, fascism, is that still a democratic process? And I'm not sure that I don't know if I agree with that.
I think what you're saying, you're hitting on something good here. So first off, just if you Google the definition of democracy, it's a system of government by the whole population, a system of government by the whole population or all eligible members of a state, typically through elected representatives. So people are eligible to determine. Now, what you're saying, well, if the people turn over the power to the government, then is it a democracy? And so like a Nazi Germany type state. At that point, it no longer is a democracy, but the democracy decided to give up its rights to become a fascist state or totalitarian state, right? So you could transition away from it.
So I guess that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No. And so I think these are helpful. I think when you start thinking about it this way, you start hitting these bumpers and these buffers. Like, well, hold on, what about this? And this is what we all should do. We keep saying we want a democracy. So take the U.S.'s mission in the Middle East. We're going to spread democracy across the Middle East. Well, that just means majority rules. So if the majority decides that they want to build a nuclear bomb, that's what you said you were promoting. So it's not a substantive statement to say it's something we should stop saying. We should say we want to maybe freedom or liberty or whatever it is, something that you can unpack that has meaning. But say you want to spread democracy simply means majority rules.
That's a great point. No, you're absolutely right. So I'm curious, maybe as a wrap up here, and this is not a leading question, Ryan. I want to lean on your expertise.
It's a trap. Q Akbar.
Oh, it's clearly a trap. I mean, chap. It should be in blank flashing lights. If you were to describe the current American landscape in what type of government or this scenario of in the spectrum of democracy, etc., what do you think describes what we are living, not from the top down choice of what we're talking about, but what are we actually seeing here? Because it doesn't seem to be a democracy. How would you coin it? What would you?
Yeah, we're still a democratic society that is moving towards a socialistic society, and there's all kinds of branches of the government that aren't actually constitutional, that we don't ever demand or be removed away. We are ceding more power to the federal government just go back to last year, on a regular basis. And so on some level, we're doing it willingly, right? We're saying, hey, we want the federal government to handle this or the state government to handle this. And on some level, we're doing it we're unwilling to do it because we're not quite clear what's going on. We don't follow the political maneuverings and close enough to understand that, hey, this department really isn't constitutional. We can talk about the EPA if you want to go there, but that's it. And now I know we got a bunch of comments. You want to go through those real quick, or?
A couple of those are a little aggressive. Do we want to?
It's up to you. We don't have to. It's up to you.
I'm more than happy to put some of these up here. I was just from Ghana, we got so you fought wars just for your movie industry and tech industry to do what Hitler and Stalin dreamed of for your Democratic Party. You want to take the first crack at that one?
Well, I mean, I don't know about Ben, but I will be very clear. I have, for many moons now, railed against the U.S. intervention into foreign countries. There is not a country that I'm aware of right now that we should, A, be invaded for sure, and B, I would pull back almost, people will hate me for this, but I would pull back almost all foreign military bases, maybe a few strategic ones, but almost all. And so I am not an imperialist. I'm not an invader. I am a firm believer in the non-aggression principle, and that goes to the U.S. military. So yeah, but people, just to be clear, people from outside the U.S., they levy these charges at Americans. It's not like we get to vote on the wars. Like,
well, so that's a great point.
Donald Trump, who said he's going to end them all.
Yeah.
And I mean,
look how well he did that. Yeah. Yeah, no, and I think that so just like you said, if you and I were controlling the U.S., the budget, we would allocate substantively less to the armed forces and to the military, bring most of these troops home. What my face was when you were talking about removing the bases is that I think so. Look, I think there's a kind of a parting of the woods in the sense that on one side you have occupations that shouldn't be there. You have people out on some of these bases that are there either for wrong reasons or have been there for too long or et cetera, or they're not playing an active role in the conflict, et cetera. But I think on the other side, if you look at sort of the world domination perspective, we talk about the U.S. being in a power seat and being number one and having the world's attention from the perspective of when the U.S. says something, the world listens. If you remove our foothold in most of the world, I'd wonder if that would change and to our detriment. And I'm not saying that it would cost us less or we'd have less power. I wonder if that change of moving those bases or removing those bases would axiomatically provide a lesser domination, a lesser power seat, and actually to a point where it may actually make the U.S. truly vulnerable. Because I think you and I agree that right now the U.S. is, it's sort of out on skis and is a little bit listless in direction, but in reference to or sort of in conjunction with the other countries or the true, other true threats to our way of living in our country's freedom, I don't really think we actually have anybody that really wants to punch up a weight class. If we remove our footprint from the world, I wonder if that would change. Do you agree with that, or is that?
It's the law of unintended consequences coming into play. It's impossible to predict how it was. But Baller, he's got some good comments here, so we gotta deal with this before we go real quick. So, how can you be anti-war and vote against Trump at the same time? Your first president not to start a war. You were all warmongers and fascist Democrats. So,
well, I mean,
hold on. The entire country, except for Trump, is a warmonger and a fascist Democrat. Coming from Okay, let me just say this.
Yeah, please. Okay,
First off, I don't think you know what the word fascist means. Perhaps you should go read a dictionary and figure that out. Second off, Trump did not end the wars. In fact, if you go read it, he was too stupid to actually figure out how to do it. And his generals and his ambassadors would lie to him. And the man who's so brilliant playing 4D chess couldn't pick up the phone and say, pull the troops out now. Now.
So,
I'm the commander in chief. So don't give me the Trump lecture. I cannot take it. I cannot take it. I won't take it.
To be clear, what he says here is that he's the first president not to start a war. He didn't say anything about ending them.
Sure.
But also, and I disagree with anything else you just said there. To couple on that, I think it's insane to think that, just because this one thing where he didn't start a war, that that removes all the other whatever, all the other reasons why we wouldn't want him as president. I mean, it's just like,
listen, I didn't vote for Biden either. I voted for myself.
And
I voted for me.
And we're all warmongers and fascist Democrats. I mean, I'm not really sure where the anger is coming from out of here. I didn't even realize that Ghana was really on our bad side, but apparently we've got a feisty one here. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, go back to the previous comment above it. It says fascist America. Okay, so fascist America and America is the USSR. Again, perhaps go read the dictionary and determine what USSR was and what the fascists are. They're not the same thing. Go read his last comment. This last comment. Yes. This was
that's actually
we are literally putting up an anonymous person on the show.
Right. We're out of Afghanistan. Did you know that? Did you know that we're out of Afghanistan? That's news. It's news to me.
I mean, I remember Trump threatening to do it and then not doing it. I remember him saying he was going to do it, and then people got mad, so he backed down like a coward. I remember that.
I remember that too.
I remember that pretty well.
Yeah.
I remember that pretty well. Perhaps you should stop watching whatever news you're watching and turning into this show where you can get the real facts. Not to be confused with Don't Want the Facts, which is Thursday at 3 Central Time. Baller. Listen, my man. Everybody, lady. The whole U.S. hates, the whole world hates you because you put your life on us.
Well,
okay. Listen, we are. So here's what
is it drink o'clock in Ghana? Is that what's happening here?
Well, here's what. And listen, for the non-Americans watching this show, if you want to criticize the U.S., then watch this program. We criticize the U.S.
on a weekly basis, multiple times.
Okay, routinely. But what you can't do is come in here and then lump everyone in the U.S. as if we are all the Borg. We are not the Borg. I am a human. Ben's a human. Baller's a human. We have very little influence.
Well, we don't know that
Baller might be a bot. Okay, bot or human, one of the two. Okay. Or an alien. But the point is that if you want to be critical, that's fine. But you can't say that we are all of these things. First off, the Democrats would not want to own me. They would not like me because I like free speech. I like guns. I like liberty. I would end the Department of Education. Okay, here we go. You done got me fired up. Okay, you done got me fired up. I would end the Department of Education. I would end all the wars. I would bring home everyone. I would close down most military bases. I would call up China the first day and say, "Hey, China, listen, we want to get rid of our debt. And to do that, we're willing to pull out of the Middle East if you wipe that off." I would call the Saudis up and say, "We're not funding you bombing the people in Yemen anymore." Okay, the Democrats would hate me. I would make it to day 2 before I was promptly assassinated. So,
if you would like to donate to the Ryan Ray Super PAC, you can find that at ryanthetalkinghead.com. We are taking. I say we. He is taking donations. If Baller, if you'd like Ryan Ray to come run for a seat in Ghana, he's already trying to figure out some other end arounds in Africa. Maybe that's the play here.
Pro liberty, pro freedom. Not a fascist, unless, of course, you don't know what the word means. And if you don't know what the word means, I can't help you. So,
well, apparently all Americans are fascists, so that's aggressive. So
that is aggressive.
I'm sorry. All lefties, I guess, are.
Your first president. Not certain words. Now, do we need to pull the video up where Trump talks about bombing people and bragging about bombing people?
Can we not?
Okay, I mean, we don't want to do that. Like,
I mean, it exists, but can we not?
Or can we bring up the fact that we're at one rally, he talks about how tough he is and and how he's going to blow them all up. And then the next rally, he's like, the wars are terrible. We don't want war. We talk about, if you want to go on the Trump train, baby, giddy up.
Baller, let's do this. If you would like to sit in on Don't Let the Facts, maybe we should have a guest on Don't Let the Facts on Thursday. Maybe we should get into this. But Ryan, this is getting off the rails quickly. We're way off. We're way off time. Rip it. Let's go. Whew. It's been a good week back. This is day 2. This is only day 2 back.
Let's go. The most aggressive show on the internet right here with your boys. We ain't holding back. I've been told back. I'm not holding back.
Listen, just like you said, the one time on any of our shows, I think we've probably done close to 100 shows together at this point. The one time on any of those shows that I told you that I didn't want to say a comment on air, I then shared it with you off air, and you understood why. Okay? And so for the second time today, I had something I was going to say, and I decided not to say it. So you should just trust me. At this point, just trust me that I made the right call.
Oh, I believe you. Are we back tomorrow morning?
We're back tomorrow. Yes, sir. 8:30 a.m. right here.
This is supposed to be a financial news show. Let us talk stocks, people. Let us talk stocks.
Next time, we're going to have the call line up a little bit earlier. 817-601-7031. We'll see you on the other side tomorrow. Oh, boy. Today was something else, let me tell you. Cut the feed.
Cut the feed. Cut it.